How do you make a movie from only 4 pages? How do you make a feature-length film from only 900 words? How do you make an adaptation? The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is not a good film adaptation of the 899-word short story by James Thurber, and in order to understand the reason why, we first need to find out what makes a good film adaptation. And I think there's no better way to look at film adaptations than to look at the series with the most variety in its 8 films, Harry Potter. In a good adaptation, you should follow the source material, especially with the tone, characters, and overall structure of the story.
The first and second Harry Potter films do this almost perfectly, with the 200-page stories being perfect script length for a feature-length film. Nothing is cut, nothing is changed. The first 2 films are great examples of a good film adaptation.
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty does not fit this mold at all. It fits more the mold of a bad film adaptation.
Dumbledore asked calmly.
Harry! I protest!
Harry, you put your name in a goblet of fire.
The fourth Harry Potter movie takes a totally different approach to adapting its material in the first 2 movies. The fourth Harry Potter book is long, very long. So, in order to make a tight 2.5-hour movie, Mike Newell had to cut out most of the story to fit in the main plot. He also changes some of the characters' moments around, like making Ron more of a comedic relief and making Hermione more, well...
They get scary when they get older.
Ron, you spoiled everything!
emotional. This is not how Hermione acts in the books at all. The movie also changes the timeline in a pretty significant way. It gets rid of a lot of the training that Harry does in the 3 trials, making the movie feel way too rushed as opposed to the book.
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty does a lot of the things that the 4th Harry Potter book does. It changes all of the scenes of the daydreaming. It cuts characters. It also changes Walter Mitty into a nearly unrecognizable person than who he was in the short story.
So is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty a bad adaptation?
Well, no, not at all. It's not a good adaptation, it's a great adaptation.
And we need one more Harry Potter analogy to see why. The third Harry Potter movie is by far the best and most realized adaptation in the 8 movies. It is a fairly good adaptation on paper, not as faithful as the first 2, cutting some scenes and changing lots of dialogue. Compared to the first 2 movies and the 4th, it fits right in the middle of an adaptation, but this is not why it is so great. It's the stuff that it adds that makes it so great. It adds more scenes that make the movie feel more cohesive and prudent. It adds the opening scene, it adds the creepy choir scene, and adds more of the Dementor scenes. Is all to make the movie have that certain feel. The general tone of the movie is one of autumn and fear. The film definitely is watched best when it's late October and Halloween night is right around the corner. The book doesn't have this tone at all. The movie also does wonders in the visual department, having much more flair, especially compared to the first 2 movies.
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, then, is a fantastic example of a great adaptation. Sure, it cuts out most of the story that the original had. It changes up the characters until they are 2 completely distinctive people. And sure, it changes the tone to more of an adventure comedy movie rather than a melancholic story about a man and a failing marriage. But the adaptation makes the story into something new and something worth telling. Just like The Prisoner of Azkaban, this movie has a distinctive style with much more creative use of the daydreaming switch, as well as just some great cinematography, really using the medium of film to the fullest extent. To be fair, there is only 4 pages worth of things to change. However, their quality of execution and willingness to change things in order to fit the story better makes The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, directed by Ben Stiller, a great adaptation. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is not a good film adaptation.